Hi guys, I'm Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic out of Chicago for 91.1 FM. And little man, what you doing, man? What are you doing, dude?
That's literally what I said to him. I said,
That's the only question that matters, Reggie. Thank you.
What are you doing? Yes.
literally came up to him on set one day after one of the scenes, and I was like, "What is wrong with you?"
Thank you for helping me out with this because I'm like, what are you doing? So here's my question, and I'd love for this for you, little, but I'd love for anybody to chime in here. Is that are you trying to teach history, and are you trying to make a comment about how racism plays out today? Because I think you're doing a lot of that and kind of mixing it in, and I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Thank you. First, give me that hat. That's my first statement. Secondarily, yeah, I mean, but rather than teach, I have to say this entire project was a learning experience for me. I mean, selfishly speaking, back in the very beginning of this journey, and I considered myself a student of history. I love history. I love Black history. I knew a lot about the Black Southern experience, the Jim Crow experience. What I realized very quickly as I was diving in to tell the story is I knew very little about what Black folks experienced moving to the cities of the East and the North and the West, and particularly to Los Angeles. There were tactics of terror used against Black families that were trying to integrate what had formerly been white neighborhoods that would have been just as at home in the Jim Crow South. And that to me was a shock because I think that there's some mistake. And by the way, are you in Chicago, Reggie?
Yes, I am.
So I mean, Chicago has a deeply entrenched history of redlining. The sad part about this is if you even have a glancing understanding of history, you realize I could have put this story in Chicago. I could have put it in Levittown, Pennsylvania. I could have put it in Rosedale, New York. I could have put it all across the Southland, and sadly, it would have worked. So my hope is, just as Deborah and Shahadi so beautifully said, that folks feel seen. That even along this journey so far, and we haven't even gotten out there yet, I've had people come up to me and say, thank God you told this story when my family moved to the Fairfax district. Thank God you told this story when my family moved to New York. And it's already happening. And that's the only reason you make a story like this. You know, I wanted to honor and respect. As dark as our show is, as twisted as it is, you said, what's wrong with me? I know the show's twisted, but at the end of the day, we set out to make a love letter to those families. So, yeah. And give me that hat.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Ashley, this question is for you, and it's actually along the lines of Emmanuel's question to Deborah. Is that your character is actually really multi-layered, but you can't always be angry. You had to do a lot of taking care of a lot of different people, and as Little was talking about, even navigate that white corporate world. Talk about the complexity of this role and the burden actually that it is in representing Black men.
Sorry. I thought you were talking to me. I thought you were mentioning. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. I thought you mentioned go ahead.
I think just the weight of the character, and I've said it before that I was actually pretty scared to take on this role, not because of just the complexities and the layers that I had to play in it, and I just wanted to make sure that I could do the part justice and bring Henry to life properly. I think what was difficult was just the layers that I had to play as Henry, and keeping that fine balance of restraint is like a word that really comes to mind when I'm thinking of Henry, because how I would react to something as Ashley in 2020, 2021 is very different to how Henry could deal with a situation. So it was constantly having this sort of burden on his shoulder of making sure that he could be firm, but not be too aggressive where he could get in trouble, because the difference between Henry doing something then or saying the wrong thing could be life or death. Just like when there's a scene where three men are essentially trespassing on his property and they come and threaten him, and his daughters are in the house, and he has to strike the balance between being responsible for his family but also protecting them at the same time, and making sure that these three gentlemen don't bully him or see him as weak and then can attack his family. So it was constantly striking that balance and finding that fine balance with Henry, which was yeah, it's difficult to play, and just being in the workplace and having to walk in the lobby and the receptionist tell him that he should be in the kitchen when really he's here as an engineer. But you know, he can't be aggressive, he can't be rude, because he needs to keep the job, because he has to be responsible for his family. So not acting emotionally and acting responsibly and having rational thinking for the character.
I would just add too, like I worked in corporate, as you know, like have I actually gone into a bathroom like Henry and shoved paper towels down my throat to stifle a rage scream? No. Have I wanted to? Every day. So like these are feelings that are still in 2020, 2021, very, very real. Yeah.
And that you can't bring it up. You feel like you can't even talk about it as well. See, these things are created to
well, God forbid you even remotely are deemed angry, even remotely.
Right. These things are used to keep us in our, like they want to keep us in our place, right? So like angry black woman, that's a myth that's been created. That's not a thing. That's not a real thing. Right. Like an aggressive, angry black man, it's not a real thing. These are things that are put on top of us as people to keep control of us, right? So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It did. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the perspective from all of you guys on that. Thank you.